We are live. This is Reseller Wake Up, episode 162. What's going on, everybody? How's the week going so far with y'all? Hope everybody's getting some killer sales and some awesome shipments out and finding some nice little scores and stuff. But how's your week going so far there, Adam?
Um, it's been rough, but overall it's not too bad. I'm just taking it day by day.
Rough as in rough, or rough as in just busy?
Um, the weekend was busy and rough, as in I haven't been feeling the greatest since Sunday,
Uh,
so I don't know what's been going on.
yeah, it happens. I've been pretty sore lately. Too much training, but what's going on, Ronnie? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. Sales have been extremely good on eBay. So
Yeah, I saw that post you made. It's like the beginning of the month got off to a good start, then it just kind of turned around on you, and then it just went through the roof again.
it's just weird. I mean, eBay is just it's a constant roller coaster. I mean, at one point in 7-day period, I did under $700, which is usually pretty odd for me to be under 1,000. So when I did that, I was like, damn. And then I think I had like 2 returns for $200 each and a few others. That was a hard week when you're looking at your numbers, like, but the last 4 or 5 days, I think I've done at least like $400 to $700 each day. I don't know what's going on, but people are buying. And that's all that matters.
Yep, it's that time of year, I mean, right before quarter four hits, you got those roller coasters, like you said. I know, like, when leading up to back to school, you've got that month or so towards, the beginning, the middle to end of August. You got a nice little bump, and then it drops off again at the beginning of September because now everybody's, like, taking a breath because they had to just spend so much money on their kids, and then, they start to think about Christmas and everything, and quarter four is going to be kicking in soon, but I don't know. End of September should start to look good again. Looking forward to that. But you there, Mike, or probably not? Mike and Dusty had to step away for a minute, but yeah, today I just wanted to talk about getting started on Amazon. I know on Monday we were talking a lot about eBay, like some of the things that you have to think about when you're getting started with them. Just like, the kind of equipment that you need to have, and kind of like what you can get away with and the bare minimums and all that stuff. But kind of want to do that today with Amazon. And I mean, just to get started with it, I mean, for you guys, when you first got started on Amazon, how were you doing, like, your basic, what was your basic setup like the first time you tried to do an FBA shipment?
Well, I didn't start with Amazon on FBA. I actually did merchant fulfilled, and I was selling books, and they ended up basically being in bins. So I had looked through each bin just to find the book, and then towards the end of my merchant fulfilling, I actually had it down to a science, so it was easier to find the book. I could locate it within seconds. So it's come a long ways.
Yeah, and then what made you switch over to FBA from selling
Um,
merchant fulfilled?
Basically, I took steps. The first step I took was selling books to a third party. Then I saw the potential in possibly selling the books on Amazon Merchant Fulfilled. So I took that step, and then I was hearing so much about FBA and how it's pretty good, and honestly, I enjoy it. So I just took the baby steps, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and these days, I know you're talking about books, but I know you do a lot more than that. What do you think the percentage of your overall FBA business is in books now? Are you still out there sourcing a lot of them, or are you sticking mostly to retail arbitrage these days?
I'll be honest, books, I did buy a box of books this past weekend. Um, but after I did that massive shipment of nothing but books from sending in what was on my shelves. I was so tired of looking at books that I haven't picked them up yet.
Nice. What about you, Dusty? How'd you get started with Amazon? I know you've been
Um,
doing it for a while.
yeah, I started out. I actually figured it out the other day. It's been 9 years.
Hold on.
Oh, did you have me muted?
What's that? Oh, no, you're good.
Okay. The time we lived, the kids were young, so we lived in a 2-bedroom condo, and I was doing eBay out of a storage unit because I was doing automotive parts. We lived on a second floor condo that had a set of stairs that were like, I swear they weren't like, it was an older condo, but if they built them today, that would have been up to code. They were like this. So I kind of only kept the lightweight stuff upstairs. All my eBay stuff, automotive parts, stayed in a storage unit down the road. And then I just basically, in the middle of our living room, had a computer with a printer, a little desk to print my labels and do all my stuff. And I started out doing Amazon. It was with books, just random books. I had kind of heard about Amazon. It was, fairly, not really new, but fairly new to be able to sell on. And I was picking up like cookbooks because I went back and looked the other day, and it was like Paula Deen and Rachel Ray cookbooks were the 2 first items that I sold. And I threw them on there, merchant fulfilled them. I'm trying to remember. But I kept everything kind of like in a closet, and we had a little closet there in our living room. And I basically took it over, and it was no longer an entry closet. It was like inventory closet. And I remember I had them stacked on the shelves in there. Yeah, I mean, that was it. And then I started FBA about probably 3 years ago when I really got more heavy into, I mean, I did Amazon for all those years on and off, and then I got more heavy into it. And I was merchant fulfilling here at the house we're at now, and I had more space, but it got to where I was like, whoa. And I think the straw that kind of broke the camel's back was I was in a little junk store, and they had all these clear storage totes, and there were hundreds of them. And they had a bunch of books, and they were all science fiction, hardcover with dust jackets, some paperback. It was an entire collection that this junk store had bought from an estate of a guy that was like an engineer that like meticulously took care of all of them. It was his whole like 2,000 science fiction books. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, how much are the books? And they're like, oh, 50 cents. So I was like, how much for all of them? I ended up negotiating a deal and got all the books for like $200. I had a little 2-door Toyota Celica, and it took me 3 trips in the hatch of that thing and piled in the front seat to get them back home. But I got them home, and I was like, there's no way I can merchant fulfill these. There's absolutely no way. I've got to learn how to do FBA. And I basically just started watching videos and playing around with it, discovered seller engine software, figured out how to do it. It's very intimidating at first. Once you get your first shipment, though, I think everybody has always said that. Once you do your first FBA shipment, it's like, oh, that was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, I sat down and bought myself a little barcode scanner to make it a little easier and sent them all in because I was punching in UPC and ISBN numbers by hand. I was like, no.
I still do that.
Well, I got fast. I'm pretty good with a 10 key, so I can sit there and look at it and just, over on the side. But, yeah, and really never looked back.
Nice.
What? You want money? 1 second.
Yeah, so for me, like when I started on Amazon, it was about a year ago. I was like, basically, I had been doing the same old stuff on eBay for a while. I got to the point where I knew eBay really well, and I've talked about it a million times, the kind of stuff that I sold and all that. But yeah, like last summer, I just started looking into watching all the YouTube videos. I started watching, the book selling guys and the clothing selling guys, and just all this odds and ends stuff. Started listening to like Scavenger Life, who, I mean, they sell everything. I think they've got one of everything in their store. But it just interested me because I kept seeing all this stuff everywhere, and it's like, well, I could probably easily get it. I know I'm buying the stuff cheap, or I can find the stuff cheap enough to resell it. But a lot of the stuff, I started hearing about this FBA thing and all that, and I started getting into the Hangouts, and you guys walked me through my first shipment, and after that it was pretty easy. But Yeah, I mean, I started with just same thing, lots and lots of books. I had tons of books around the house, a lot of video games. I took all my video games from eBay and just basically anything that was worth more than $10, I sent to FBA. You know, records, VHS tapes, just whatever I had laying around that I just hadn't gotten around to listing on eBay yet. I went ahead and shipped into Amazon, and then I started taking my eBay listings down and sending that stuff into Amazon. And yeah, that was how I got started. But I mean, like for the first couple of shipments, all I really needed was a computer and Avery labels on a laser printer, you know, to print the barcodes out. I mean, really, what else do you need to get started when you first start doing FBA? I mean, you've got something to. Can you do? Can you even do FBA? Like when you're listing stuff, can you do it from your phone? Like, can you create a shipment from a phone, or do you need to be on a computer?
You're supposed to be able to with the Seller app. I have never tried, but I heard it's possible. I know with Scan Power, you can do it and then go like transition it onto your desktop. But I rather just sit at the desktop and work a little extra harder.
Yeah. Well, I don't consider it too much extra work, but one thing that I have started doing is like when I'm going through just price and inventory, instead of doing it in front of a computer, like I'll sit there with a little wax pencil and my phone while I'm watching TV or whatever, as I'm cleaning video game cases, taking stickers off, all that stuff, and I'll just scan it with my barcode and then write the price on it, or scan it with Profit Bandit, I mean, and then write what price I want on it, and that just makes it a lot faster when I'm actually inputting everything into my shipment. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot, but there's a lot of things that you can do to kind of streamline things and make it just a little bit faster and easier. What about you, Ronnie? How'd you get started on Amazon? What are you doing on Amazon these days?
Amazon was actually the first platform that I started selling on. I sold on Amazon before eBay. It's probably like 4 years ago now. I was just intrigued. I came across somebody that was I seen somebody at a thrift store, and I was never in a thrift store before that day, and they were putting books like in like cardboard boxes, and I was curious on what they were doing. So I seen them with a scanner. I didn't think too much of it, and you know, I went home and I was just messing around, and somehow I was on YouTube and I started messing around, and I came across like a book scanner person or something like that. So I started seeing, and I got a little intrigued into it, so I started getting books. But I was doing merchant fulfilled, and it turned into anything with a barcode, kind of. You know, and then eBay, of course, started up shortly after that. But my first year, 2012 maybe, or late 2011, it was all Amazon really for me. I did a lot more on Amazon than I did eBay. Then I got kicked off Amazon for 2 years, and then now I'm back on. So it's been a nice little roller coaster ride for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest fear most people have, and that's what kept me from doing Amazon for so long, is just that fear of getting kicked off. And you know, I'm still kind of afraid of it. Like, it almost seems like you can do something that's not even your fault, but I mean, obviously at the end of the day, the people that are getting kicked off are doing things wrong. But I mean, there are a lot of rules and a lot of things to keep track of, and they take that stuff seriously.
But
So,
if you're not, and this may be controversial, and people would probably disagree, but if you're not, I personally believe if you're not living in some sort of fear of getting kicked off of Amazon, you're probably cutting corners and breaking rules somewhat. You need to, and I've said this before, lose all, and I hate the term, but lose all eBay mentality. Everything I was doing on eBay, I discovered you can't do on Amazon. I mean, you almost have to live in that constant fear, because that'll keep your game sharp. That's my personal opinion. You know, because they'll take people down for just little mistakes or inadvertent mistakes. You know, you list something that might potentially be counterfeit that you picked it up from a thrift store or whatever. I mean, it's that easy to get booted off.
and it's not even just counterfeits. I mean, it can be like the story that always got me was that guy that, you know, that everybody's probably heard it. The dude that had, he had like 10,000 items or something like that, or 100,000 items in FBA, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago when FBA was just getting started, and he was almost exclusively doing like DVDs and media type stuff, and it turned out he had like one item that ended up being like he was accused of it being counterfeit, and it was being commingled. So he thought that it may have been somebody else's. It couldn't have possibly been his. He would never ship anything in that's counterfeit, and yeah, they shut him down, and he basically.
See, and I remember that story of that kid. I say kid. I mean, he was a young guy. But why? That's what I'm talking about. Staying on top of your game. At what point would it not have ever crossed his mind? Hey, if I send in commingled stuff, it's going to get mingled with other people's stuff. I don't know their quality. I don't know if their stuff's even real. Why would anybody? I mean, we could do a whole show on why not commingle, because I think it's idiotic. Unless you're trying to send in crappy stuff and get it mixed in with good stuff. But why would you? Would that not? I am thinking, for me personally, Paul, wouldn't that ever cross your mind of, man, I don't want to commingle my stuff?
Well, it just depends. I mean, I understand the commingling thing and why it would make sense, but it's 100% to benefit Amazon. There's no benefit for you as a seller.
The only benefit is you save half a penny or less on a label. That's it. That's the only benefit I can say.
Oh, right. A little bit. Yeah, you don't have to put a label on it. Nobody has to put a label on it. Like, you don't have to pay Amazon or anything.
Which means you can direct ship.
Right. So I guess that makes a little bit of sense. What do you? John's got his stopwatch out.
What did Mike say? That you can, meaning like direct from a manufacturer?
Yeah, well, even you could just get it to your house, count them, and then direct ship them, to Amazon.
Yeah, right. But we've done. I mean, and not everybody has the help or has the facility or whatever else. But we had Star Wars Angry Bird toys sitting here. We had 1,200 of them purchased from a liquidation company, 2 pallets full, last fall, and they came to the driveway. Thank goodness it was good weather that day. We took them the boxes straight off the pallets. I had the labels ready, slapped the labels, unpacked them, labels on them, straight back in boxes, straight back onto the end of the driveway with the UPS label. I mean, it was that. It wasn't. It took my wife, my son, and I. It took us to do 1,200 of them. It took us 2 hours.
Right, but when you're running like a wholesale type business where you're buying from wholesalers and you're doing multi-millions, you're putting those labels on costs you a lot of money.
Right. I mean, if you've got to print or put on 500 labels, then that's very time consuming. And I could see why especially if it's something that there's only a couple other sellers are on the item, why it would be easier just to send it in as commingled.
I mean, then that wholesaler needs to hire an employee.
Well, they probably have employees, but you've got to pay the employees. That's
right. That's what I'm getting at. Is you're paying an employee to put stickers on an item. If you can skip that entire process altogether, you just saved a bundle. Especially if, like I said, you're over $1 million or whatever.
But is the risk of commingling worth the saving the little bit of labor that they should have just factored in their business model? I'm not being argumentative. Right. I still think it's just. I think commingling is stupid on any level, whether it be I'm a huge wholesaler, whatever.
I believe that it's a step of cost cutting that's, like you said, it's a little more risky than it's worth.
Right.
But people do it. I mean, there's plenty of people that commingle almost everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I've just seen way too many people get kicked off for more minor things. You know what I mean? That it just seems. I'm not saying that people that do it are being careless, but in my mind, that's kind of at the end of the day saying I really don't care that much about my business. I would rather cut some corners, save a little bit of labor, and risk my entire account.
Yeah. Well, some people don't really think about it that way. They look at it as a business that's there just to make as much money as possible, and if something happens, then they have to make adjustments, and right. I mean, people just think about things differently, and some people just don't really they don't realize that there are risks with commingling. All they know is wow, all I have to do is send this in and Amazon sells it, and that's a wrap, you know.
I mean, like, even if you have the listing to yourself, like, let's take John, for example. John has, am I allowed to say what he sells that aren't, like, John sells flags, let's say, just for a random example. And he's created the listing. He's created the listing. It's his, sold by, manufactured by, whatever else. As John knows, it doesn't take much for some dude in China to jump on that listing and start selling counterfeits that don't match that description. If John was commingling, then what's going to happen? Somebody orders that flag, they got a 50-50 chance, or whatever percentage, depending on the inventory, that they're going to get the Chinese guy's thing. The product's then going to have a bad review, you know, and that John's going to get a return. John's going to get in trouble with Amazon and everything else. So even though today John's like, oh, I got all those listings all to myself, if somebody jumps on them tomorrow, some counterfeiter, for lack of a better term, I mean, that's something he, in my opinion, needs to think about. If I was John, I wouldn't commingle anything.
According to Amazon, they do keep track. I mean, they know which one they pulled, like whose they pulled when they ship something out. They just don't necessarily pull yours, but they know which one went out when it gets shipped.
Yeah, they do. They know that, but they don't know whose it was that went into the bucket.
Okay.
I mean, you have to think of it like commingling is basically like a big bucket of everybody's, let's say, bucket of bolts. Everybody sells a little bolt, a 1-inch bolt, and they just throw it into a bucket. Every time you ship one into them, they receive it, throw it in a bucket.
Yep.
And then whenever one sells, they just pick one out of that bucket. And if it's a fake one, and you're the seller, then it falls on you.
Okay.
Here's how I understand commingling with Amazon and brand new items. Commingling is okay if you can prove that your products were new when you sent them in. Meaning, do you have a bill of lading from the manufacturer, not a distributor, from the manufacturer? Do you? And Stan Cohen and I talked about this at length and what he does, because he does commingle a lot of stuff. It depends on the item. A DVD will never be commingled, and it's because somebody can get a bad one or a counterfeit one. It's too easy to counterfeit. I have 500 labels right here. Dusty was talking about his little the pallets that came in. On Friday, I'm getting, I don't know, something like 100 and some cases of a product. The labels are done. The shipping, the shipment is built and printed out on a clipboard. I know what's got to go on what boxes to where. It's all done. I don't think, and I could commingle all that, but I'll have it all done in a couple of hours. I hired a part-time helper. It'll take me a couple of hours to go through and put those stickers on. And to me, it's worth it. I don't commingle anything. My stuff that I have private labeled gets a label put on it when I send it in. I don't even take a chance with that.
Yep. I mean, I would personally label everything, but I don't label that much stuff. My shipments aren't that big. And I mean, if you're doing 500, 1,000 items, I think it's worth it just to take the time to throw it on there. But, you know, if you're doing semi-truckloads, then maybe then you're thinking, maybe then it makes a little bit more sense to, you know. But that's commingling, and that's like that's one of the things that, like, when people don't really understand how it works and people get scared about it when they're first getting started. I mean, even like Dusty's been doing it for years, he's still afraid of it. but
I'm going to say that over the years that I've seen of people come and go with suspensions, including that DVD guy, including, you know, there is the occasional, like, really random, the Amazon bots picked up on something the person shouldn't have got suspended, but 9 times out of 10 there's more to the story.
Oh yeah,
9 times out of 10, when that person looks back, if you sat them down one-on-one outside of a forum or outside of Facebook or whatever else and got to the root of the story and went through their whole business model, they cut a corner somewhere. They're not getting, most people aren't going to admit that. They just give the, oh my God, Amazon's so big and bad and suspended me and I wasn't doing anything wrong. And I think at the end of the day, if you hold yourself to an extremely, extremely I mean, I'm picky as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I had a printer here a while back that had a little water stain on the box. I could have got $100 more. Ronnie knows that story. $100 more sent into Amazon. But instead of letting the dollar signs of that extra $100, I knew that that could be a potential issue with Amazon if I sent it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when we're kind of like on a micro scale here, you know, most of us don't have employees. Most of us are one-man shows. You know, we do maybe a couple of us have like one employee. You know, I mean, when you're doing a couple $100,000 a year or whatever, then and you don't have any employees and you're doing everything yourself, then it's good money. But I mean, we're talking about guys that do $10 million a year that have, you know, a dozen employees working out of a warehouse where they never even see the product that they're shipping into Amazon. You know, so I don't know. There's all kinds of different levels that you can do this on, from just the part-time, like just, you know, a couple shipments a year, you know, nothing major, where you just every once in a while you get a couple $100 in your deposit in your bank account, to enough to live on, to enough where, I mean, it's like a viable business where you're supporting people's families, like multiple families. But
I think, like you were saying, I think the reason why it's there is because it's a viable option for somebody, or it wouldn't be available, obviously. And I think it works out in somebody's favor, or it would probably go away.
mm-hmm. And like I said, it definitely works out. It seems to make things easier for Amazon for sure. So if it makes it easier for them, they're going to provide the option for everybody if they want to do it. But now, Mike, when you've only been doing Amazon for like a year or two, right? Maybe a little bit longer than a year now. How long have you been on it?
A year and a half. I started in February of last year.
And where did you, like, when you first started, what were you mostly doing? And what did it kind of evolve into?
Well, I was doing eBay. I had just started doing a lot of clothing and all that kind of stuff with the raking things that came out and all that. But I was also thrifting for other items. Like I talked about before, with the records and everything like that. And I was just adding things to my list of stuff to buy and resell on eBay. And I was coming into the Hangouts. I watched people's videos. I don't know. I watched everybody's videos at that time. I was just trying to get more and more information on things, because I saw these thrift stores and I was buying like maybe, or looking at maybe 10% of the thrift store, and I had no clue what else was in there. So I was checking out everybody's videos to figure out what else to buy, and, you know, doing my own research and just adding and adding. And so as I was watching the videos, everybody kept mentioning Amazon. And I was like, well, and I got in a couple of Hangouts, and I was like, well, I'm going to try it. So I threw a couple $100 at it, and just kind of blew up over the course of a year. And I mean, I basically made, in the fourth quarter, I almost doubled what I made the year before on eBay for my first fourth quarter.
And that's in just a few months, like
Well,
October, November,
from
December.
February of the prior year. So, you know, I was going through, and I'm still learning and stuff, but like I was still learning even then. But fourth quarter made it so easy. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a good fourth quarter this year. It'll be nice. I'm just loading my inventory up as much as I possibly can. But I just did another haul video last night. I posted it pretty late, but just some of the video game stuff. I stopped at like one pawn shop, and I think I dropped $400. And
Yeah.
should be able to make a pretty good chunk on that. But I mean, that's just to kind of give you an idea of, you know, what you can do out there. And I mean, I don't know, I try to do that at least a few times a week, and if you can do it a few times a week, then you're gonna make enough to at least get by on. But I mean, on your level, you know, how many stores do you shop at, or you in a week, Mike? I mean, you're like the retailer. You and Adam are like the big retail arbitrage guys on the panel, right?
I only do a day a week now of retail arbitrage. So, I mean, I usually go, and it's usually only a half a day. So, like, it's basically the weekend, so that, you know, I work full time too. So, on the weekends, Saturday mornings, I get up and I'll go I'll go to yard sales and maybe hit a thrift store or two, depending on.
Right. So, I mean, on a typical half day of retail, how many stores are you hitting? He locked up.
He doesn't like your stupid question.
I know, he doesn't like my stupid question.
I'm not answering that.
What about you? What about you, Adam? I mean, I know you do a ton of it.
I haven't been retailing arbitrage for at least a good couple weeks. The last time I went was to a couple Walmarts, and I've actually just been focusing on flea markets, garage sales, online ARB, and I'm trying to focus a little more on the online ARB to get more replens. But I mean, I do well with what I do. I just gotta get back to a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm done playing catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost 90% thrifting and garage sale sourcing. You know, I mean, I'm the guy that'll walk into a garage sale and see boxes of something and be like, how much for everything? And then I'll throw away half of it and, you know, send half of what's left to Amazon and send lot the rest up and put it on eBay. What do you got there?
Do you know what that is?
That is a wireless photo and video uploader with online sharing. I don't know. It looks like a webcam or like a camera with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's an iFi 4 gigabyte. These things are actually pretty cool.
They're awesome.
They don't make these anymore, so if you find them, you're talking nice money.
What is it? So that's a SD card with Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
A what?
Sending into Amazon for $70.95.
Really?
The iFi isn't made anymore, but they have a bunch of other companies that make the same thing.
So you stick it in the SD slot of like your desktop or your laptop or whatever, and it's a Wi-Fi. It's basically a Wi-Fi card.
Yeah.
Or your phone.
No, it's to transfer pictures to your computer or the internet.
I have it right here in my hand, guys.
Yeah, we see.
You put it in your camera. You put the SD card into the computer and you load it onto the computer first. Then you put it into the camera and you take your pictures and it Wi-Fi's the picture from the camera onto the computer so that when you go to work on the images later, they're already loaded into a folder.
How many steps is the process? Because I need that. I've changed computers and I don't have an SD slot anymore, so I'm having to use the Kodak software, which totally sucks. So how many step process is that? Like if I picture, how soon is that going to be on my computer?
If you're taking pictures that fast, if you go get a cup of coffee and come back, they'll all be on your computer. And I'm not saying go to Wawa and get a cup of coffee. I'm talking about walk out in your kitchen, grab a drink, and come back. They'll be loaded. It's pretty quick.
Huh.
That is interesting.
What I do is, and I'm going to give a little secret here of how I do like shirts or when I sold clothing. What I did was I stacked them in by like category, like men's T-shirts. I would stack them, and I would shoot all the pictures and I would put it face down after I took the pictures. So I would pile them up again, and when I was done taking all the pictures of the T-shirts, when I flipped them over, the first picture in the folder matches the top shirt, so I could list it. And I just took all my pictures of all my items that way, and I would do all T-shirts, then all casual shirts, and then Amish dresses and whatever else I was doing.
Yeah,
But that Wi-Fi card, that camera Wi-Fi card, saved so much time because I didn't have to like take it out, load it, move it. It was just there when I was ready to go work on the computer. They're there.
So anytime you're looking at cameras or like basically anything that with an SD card slot, check the SD cards because the SD cards are, I mean, the memory cards are a lot of times just worth more than the camera. But
I also put a tape measure on my desk. I have
Yes.
a tape measure taped right to the edge of my desk.
he was watching TV.
Yeah, that was that.
That wasn't me. It looks like you talk about iFi. There's also Toshiba makes something. I'm looking on Amazon. Toshiba makes something called Flash Air, 2 words, and they're a little more affordable than the iFi. They're like you can get one 16 gig for $27 prime.
But they have the iFi 8 gig for the same price.
Do they really? I haven't gotten down that far.
I paid $19 for my 4 gig Wi-Fi.
Yeah, they have $29.74.
They don't make them anymore. I bought it when they made it.
Huh.
So you can get $29.74 for an 8 gig one right there.
For me, it would just be nice. I mean,
Oh.
first of all, my SD card sits like right here in the front of my computer, right about where my knee's at. So I'm constantly, when I have the card in there, bumping it. And I mean, I've got a 4 gig card here. This is what happens when you bump it a little too hard. It just,
Yeah.
very frustrating. But
Mine right now, I'm going to have it here tomorrow.
yeah.
8 gigs would be more than enough. Lord, I'm using a 2 gig card right now because I don't take that many pictures at one time, and then I come over and transfer them over, and 2 gigs is more than enough.
Yeah, I delete my pictures like once a month on a 4 gig card.
Well, and that's the thing. It does put the picture on the card, but it also sends it to the computer through Wi-Fi.
So basically, there's software you got to set up on your computer to obviously to set all that up or whatever, and it knows looking for that. Does your computer have to be wireless though? I guess it would.
I mean, I use a laptop, so no, your computer doesn't have to be wireless.
It's just going to recognize if once you set it up, it's going to recognize anything on your wireless network.
Yeah, that's what it does. It works through your network, and if your computer's hardwired, then it's still connected to the network.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Because like my computer's hardwired because my modem sits 15 feet, 5 feet behind me, however many feet it is.
Basically, it would be like setting up a server in your
Gotcha.
house somewhere. You can just share files with your server, whether it's connected to the wirelessly or whatever, as long as it's.
But you have Wi-Fi in the house, right, Dusty?
Yeah. We do everywhere else, and I actually had the other computer before this one, but it dawned on me one day, like I'm sitting 10 feet from the router. Why am I using wireless? Why don't I just hardwire it and get a faster signal? So, but yeah, everything else in the house is wireless, though.
All right, so we got a couple of questions in the chat that we might as well hit on while we're here. Morgan Horde, sorry we didn't get to this earlier, guy, but anybody notice when they ship a box on Amazon, it gets checked in, almost 90% of items get put in reserve status for 5 days or so? Usually that's just because, like, for me, I do the thing where I send I pay Amazon like 20 cents an item or whatever to send it in to have them distribute the stuff so that I only have to ship multiples into one warehouse. So if I've got 10 of something, it all goes to the same warehouse and then they put it in reserve and ship it out. But I mean, there are a lot of different things that can cause the reserve status, right? Not just that kind of thing. I mean,
Yes. I got a message somewhere along the line. It basically was saying one of the biggest complaints sellers had about FBA shipments was that too many small shipments had to go to too many different warehouses. What Amazon is trying to do, and they're not doing it for everybody yet, is they're trying to make it so you only send to one, maybe 2 warehouses on a shipment. In the last month, the most I've sent to is 3 warehouses, and they were Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and I live in New Jersey, so the shipping on it was very cheap. But when it hits those warehouses, they're check-in warehouses where they check the stuff in, and they disperse it out to other warehouses.
They're redistribution centers. I've gotten really lucky for the last 3 months. It used to be this way about 60% of the time, and it used to be that I would send to Kentucky CVG if I sent quantities of items. Like anything Mike McCluskey and I figured out, anything over like 17, 18 items would end up there. Now, for the last 2 months, with the exception of one item. They sent one DVD to Phoenix, Arizona, and I let it sit here forever. And finally, I was like, screw it. Threw it in a box and paid the $3.95 or whatever it was to ship it. But all my stuff has ended up going to Kentucky, which I am totally fine with because a 50-pound box cost me less than $10.
Right. And
it's one-off stuff. It's not even quantity stuff. So for some reason, I've gotten switched over to that, what he's talking about.
I always ship to 2 warehouses, a regular warehouse and an oversized warehouse.
I sent 600 pounds the other day, and it was like $90 or something. So I'm very happy with them redistributing my products and taking 5 days.
Yeah, my last shipment, I had one oversized item going to a warehouse, and then when I boxed it up and checked the price, it was like $5 to ship it in. I was like, one item, that's fine. I mean, it was $90 that I'll get for it, so totally worth it. But
I just wanted to apologize to Amazon because I know they're listening. I'm sorry for complaining about California and the Moreno Valley and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. You guys you've messed with me enough now. If you could just go ahead and switch me back to a different place.
The shipment I'm working on right now is going to Moreno Valley.
That sucks to be you.
10 days, dude.
Yeah, I have 3 shipments, like complete shipments, that are still not even checked in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
We are now, as of yesterday, under the, if you do Amazon, if you're 100% FBA, it's not going to affect you, first of all. But if you're merchant fulfilled, every year Amazon sets up what they call holiday toy selling, basically to avoid bad merchant fulfillers so they don't get little Johnny's toy to them late during, between Black Friday and like Christmas. Basically what they do is they evaluate you during a certain period, and then once November 17th hits, if you haven't met those criteria, you cannot merchant fulfill. And only merchant fulfill. You cannot merchant fulfill toys. And the time period they look at is September 1st to October 31st. And there's a bunch of guidelines, but somebody pointed it out to me yesterday that we're now under that evaluation period. So if you're wanting to merchant fulfill toys for Christmas, for fourth quarter, and you're not FBA, like I said, merchant fulfilling only, go to Google, go to Amazon, put in Amazon holiday toy selling, and it'll take you to the guidelines.
And why would you want to merchant fulfill anything if you're selling things on FBA?
If it's a super hot toy.
Hot toys you can pick up last second.
Right.
Yeah, I would do it a little bit. I'll cut it off about a week. When you get about a week from Christmas, I'll totally cut it off because it makes me too nervous. It's not going to get there. But I've done that and found like I had some Minecraft toys I was picking up from a local store, and as fast as I could go get them, they were selling. I didn't have time to get them into FBA, so I merchant fulfilled them.
Yeah, especially if you're RA in Walmart or Target, with those hot places that everybody else is doing RA in. If you get yours listed, like there's people, what's his name, Dallas Moore, he does it quite a bit. When he's outsourcing, he'll pick up the stuff, he actually lists it right there as RA. And by the time he gets home from his sourcing trip, there's like, half the orders or half of the items are already sold and waiting to be shipped out on order.
Well, while we're bringing that up, merchant fulfilled and FBA are becoming very similar for the buy box.
Yeah.
If you have merchant fulfilled and 0 shipping added, they are getting a turn at the buy box on certain items at certain price points, and it's not. You can be 5% higher in FBA. It's not.
Yeah, it depends.
Numbers and numbers of cases where people are merchant fulfilled with 0, and I go 50 cents over them, and they get the buy box.
Yeah, I don't even pay enough attention to the buy box. I mean, most of my stuff is used anyway. Like, the buy box is not an issue for me. And I know when I hit it on my new items, if I find something that I sell 10 of, or that I set 10 of in, and it's all brand new, and then all of a sudden I get like 10 sales in a day. Oh, cool! I must hit the buy box. But I mean, I'm not too crazy with FBA with like
Well, I
repricing
kind
and
of
all
have
that.
to be careful. I have to be careful because Amazon just said these 500 items right here that I'm getting ready to send in. I have 253 in stock, and they said I have 16 days of supply left. Can I send them more, please?
Yeah. Yep. I get those emails all the time. I just ignore those too because I can't find any more. I'm selling like clearance stuff and stuff, and I have no replens. The closest thing to a replen that I have, video games. I'll find the same game over and over and over, and I know how much it's worth. Like yesterday when I was in this pawn shop, I had no data on my phone, so I had to pick one. Like I had no idea well, I knew exactly what most of the stuff was worth, but I mean, it was all in my head though, It's like I didn't do any like price checking or anything. I just knew what I was getting, but I mean, I can't do that, and I can't go into Walmart and do that.
For me, the easiest categories to find replens are groceries, makeup, like health and beauty. Well, it's two different things, but you know what I'm saying.
Anything consumable.
But I mean, I'm saying the easiest ones to find replens are groceries, number 1, number 2, beauty, and number 3, health. Those are the 3 easiest to find replens in.
Yeah,
in my
because
experience.
it's a lot of
it's stuff that you use every day, pretty much.
Yeah, consumable stuff. I mean, anytime you've got consumables where the same person might come back and buy it again, and they're using it pretty quickly, yeah.
And don't look to the biggest brands.
She lost her train of thought. All right, so T-Rex Treasure asks, what's an FBA?
Okay, that's Dino Dump, and he knows exactly. It took me a second because I forgot exactly his name. He knows what it is, but everybody's answered it.
No, you know what though, dude? We are sitting here doing an entire show on Amazon FBA, and we didn't even explain Amazon FBA.
Because we've done it 162 times before.
We take this stuff for granted sometimes, guys. I mean, if you are new, if you are somebody that's never heard of FBA, or maybe you're an eBayer and you're just trying to figure out how to expand your business, or maybe you've just heard of it and enough of it to like be interested and you want to know more about it. I mean, all FBA is basically you take your items and instead of like sitting on them, inventorying them yourself, shipping them out yourself, all that, you just send them into Amazon. Amazon puts it in their warehouse. They keep track of the customer service. They keep track of all the sales. They keep track of all the returns, everything. And all you have to do is send it to them, and you're done. And every once in a while you just go in and clean up your inventory. And, I mean, you can control everything from the Seller Central page. But they handle it all. Now, one of the questions I think that a lot of new people have when they just get into FBA is when to switch to a Pro Seller account. Which, I mean, it's pretty simple. There's a $1 picking fee on every sale if you don't have a Pro Seller account, and the Pro Seller account costs $40 a month. So,
but there's people that are like, well, I've sold over 40 for a couple months now, but what if I don't? Like 1 month, then it's like.
If you're selling consistently over 40 items, then I don't see why you would stop selling 40 items consistently unless you decide to just stop doing FBA, but you can shut it down anytime, right? Like you can turn the Pro Seller account off. Yeah, so it's not if you know that you're going to be, if you're barely doing 40 items a month, like say through the summertime or whatever, and then you have to go back to your day job, then just shut it off when you're not sourcing anymore. And then,
I think they should use it as a motivator to make sure that they get enough in there to sell 40 items a month.
That's what I use
it for. Even if you just send in a bunch of books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It takes you. I mean, you can go to Goodwill and go to the book section, spend 15 minutes, and you can find enough to cover. I mean, I've never gone to the Goodwill section and not been able to find enough books that the profit of them is going to cover the $40 fee, even if I don't. You know what I mean? If I couldn't somehow get enough items in there.
I still ignore the book section in Goodwill. The only way that I'll buy books is if I walk into if I'm buying them in bulk at garage sales. I mean,
Books are so fast and easy, though, Paul.
no, they're not.
They
Not for
are.
me. They take longer to. No, they're. I don't. My problem is I don't want to sell stuff that's like $5, you know, and I don't want to sit there and scan 100 items and find 2 things that are worth $5 or $10, you know.
I don't scan them anymore. I just grab. I know the categories that I only have certain categories that I look at. Well, that's why it's so fast, because there's only certain categories of books that I go to, and you know it depends on the condition, but you can pretty much tell from the title, subject, that kind of thing. You know, you've got a relatively good chance. When I first started doing it, no, I didn't just grab them, but it comes, you know, just like everything else, like you with video games, is me with books.
Yeah, I just
But
don't
they're
like paying
so easy.
$1 or $2 for anything and have it sit there for 6 months before it finally sells. You know,
Oh,
I want that stuff
our books
moving.
are pretty cheap. But
Ooh, I'll take that.
Well, that's the other problem. Like in my Goodwills, all the hardbacks are $3 and all the
whoa,
softbacks are $1, like all paperbacks. And then at the other thrift stores in town, for the most part, you're looking at, you know, anywhere from $5 on up for hardbacks. And
that's ridiculous. Your books
Yeah.
are so expensive.
We went to a Goodwill in Rome, Georgia that was that way. And our Goodwill here sucks. It's like a little dumpy whatever, and they sell Target return crap. But it was like this big, nice. It looked like it was in a strip mall. It almost looked like they went to like an old TJ Maxx or a grocery store location or whatever. But they were the same way. They were $3 on hardbacks and like $2 on paperbacks.
yeah, it's too expensive for me. I'd rather pay I don't mind paying nothing, you know, 10 cents a book. Yeah, okay, I'll buy 100 books at 10 cents a book and then scan them later, you know. But
I bought about 15 books, but they were all textbooks that were like 30, 40, $50.
yeah, I've got like 6 boxes of books sitting here in my living room ready to go to Goodwill from my last sourcing trip, my last garage sale haul, and then I've got another like dozen boxes right now. Like basically what I do is I'll go and buy a big box of books or as many books as they'll sell me. You know, if I see more than 2 or 3 boxes at a garage sale, first question I ask is, what are you going to do with this stuff if it doesn't sell? You know, and I try and find the people that are like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to look at it anymore. And then I give them a get it out of my house price. You know, I'll give them like $5 a box or whatever. And then I'll load up my car, get them home, scan everything. Anything that's like $10 or more, I'll send into FBA. And then everything else I'll take, and there are a couple local bookstores that pay pretty well on used books. You know, if I send them 100 books, they'll take a dozen of them and on average give me like $1 a piece for them. And you know, when you're taking them 500 or 600 books, then that adds up pretty fast. And then whatever's left over, I'll just take to Goodwill. But I mean, most of the time if I spend $5 on a box of books, generally I'll get like a $50 return, I guess, on average. That's what it's been coming out to, and that's consistent for the last year or so. But Dixie Girl 999 asked, does everyone test video games before they send them into FBA? She sees them all the time, but she doesn't have the equipment to test them. Yeah, if you want to test all your games, then you got to have all the systems. And if you're talking about PS4, that's a $400 system. Xbox One, that's a $350 system. You know, even like Xbox 360s are $80 to $100 still. You know, PS3, same thing. You know, $150 most of the time for one that's in good shape. But most of the time, you can look at the disc and tell if it's going to work or not. And any negative feedback I've ever gotten from a game not working, I've had removed. And Amazon always removes it as a product review. But doesn't necessarily mean that. I mean, with that being said, I still test everything. I still want happy customers. I still want them coming back, and I still like seeing the same person buying my games over and over because they know that, you know, I test.
You test your stuff.
And it's what I say in the listing is what they're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you don't necessarily need to. I don't even test everything anymore. You know, I mean, if I've got a game it's a like this PS4 game, the disc is perfect, you know. I mean, all I have to do is wipe it down and take a couple of these little spots off, and it'll look brand new. I'm not necessarily going to test that, because I know it works. But I mean, if I have to get it buffed or whatever, then definitely test it. But yeah, if you're not selling a lot of that stuff, then I would just say roll the dice, as long as you know, like, if there's scratches, like, if you know the difference between a bad scratch and a good scratch, and if you've got a DVD collection, even, you know what a bad scratch looks like, right? But
I don't test. Yeah, like DVDs, I don't test anything. I have a JFJ Easy Pro. I will clean them if they need to be cleaned, but I don't put them in. And I've heard of people that do that. Like, I think one person one time said they put everything in their, they have a DVD player and they let it play while they're working or whatever. Let the whole entire disc play. But
that's insane. Why would
I'll
you
check
do
it for
that?
scratches. I know, like Paul said, I know what's going to cause a disc to play and not to play. That's as far as DVDs. Video games, I couldn't help you on that one, but
yeah, I mean,
I
with
test
video-
VHS tapes. Like if I pick up a used VHS that's going for high, I'll test that. But
yeah. But do you play the whole entire thing though?
no.
Okay.
I tested just to make sure that it's not like porn or something that somebody taped.
No.
I had this-
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that feedback?
Oh God, I just sold a lot of VHS tapes, like children's VHS tapes, the other day from a garage sale, and it was like 5 tapes for $15 or something like that. But I'm like sitting there watching them all just to make sure that they weren't taped over, because that would, yeah, that would not be a feedback I'd want to see pop up.
Ordered Forrest Gump and got Forrest Hump. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was watch Saving Ryan's Privates.
Mom, this isn't Beatrix Potter.
Yeah.
Guess
Say again?
porn's a keyword.
Yeah.
It's funny with like 8mm stuff or even VHS or whatever. I'm not saying that all rocket scientists and all engineers are dirty, but the amount of stag films and stuff that I've come across from those kind of estates around here in the last 5-6 years, it's like every engineer somewhere, they had a file cabinet and they had some old dirty magazines, or they had some 8mm movies, or they had, it's like, what? And it's usually the stuff out of the garage. So apparently they watched the stuff in their garage, but it's like every estate.
Maybe I was an engineer in a past life.
Yeah, I've only found one sex tape so far, and that was in a video camera. Surprise, surprise. It was like in a little mini VHS. I was sitting there, I was just testing it just to make sure everything worked, and it's like, oh, yep, that works. That's always funny, though. But.
I would totally return it to the person. If I got that at a yard sale, I would totally take it back to them and be like, I don't think you meant to sell this.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to see the look on their face and be like, I know what you did.
Yeah, that would be classic if they realize it's like they remember making it. And
Oh,
they're
yeah.
There was a yard sale a couple months ago, and they had this whole stack of, they had a bunch of books, but set off to the side, they had a whole bunch of like S&M and bondage type books and stuff, and I knew they'd be really good on Amazon, have really good prices. So I pick up the whole stack of like the sex books and bondage books, and it's a husband and wife, and I'm like, how much for these? And they both just start grinning. I just really wanted to look at them and be like, if you only knew, I'm about to make a killing off Amazon. I have no interest in them whatsoever. And it was just, it was that moment of like, I know I'm going to make $100 off this $5 investment, but I just really want to say something, but I can't.
Yeah.
That awkward moment when they invite you over for dinner.
I know, right?
They're like, hey, we have more stuff down in the basement, but we prefer to call it the dungeon.
What's your safe word?
Right.
I don't know if I could have picked them up. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I would
don't
not
know
have
if I could've.
hesitated.
I don't know if I could have.
Yeah, I would definitely Definitely.
That was all I bought from that sale. It was actually, I walked around, there wasn't anything else. It was kind of on my way back out. So I literally handed them like $5-6, whatever it was, and like ran for the car.
Run home, take a shower.
Right. Don't get my tag number. Freaks.
Yeah.
Wash the funk off.
Well, it's getting pretty late, guys. Gotta get my
Oh,
kids
that's right.
to
She's got school.
Yep, gotta take her to school today.
I didn't realize that the kids here started school. Like, Sue Sowen told me that her kids were starting school, but she homeschools. So I thought, because I thought our kids here always started after Labor Day.
Yeah.
But apparently they just start, like, in the 1st of September. And
Yeah, they start early in Colorado because there's so many snow days. They don't want them going to school until July.
Ours, they start, I knew they started in September, and I'm like, I'm just like booking past the middle school, and I see bicycles, and I was like, oh crap, and I look at the sign, and it's like, happy first day of school, and I'm like slamming on the brakes in the truck, like, please don't let me kill a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, my kid gets an iPad tonight. I gotta go to like some.
They do that here.
Yeah, get the iPad orientation. Like, all right, this is what we expect. We don't want this stuff showing up on your iPad.
Right. We do monitor your iPad activity.
We keep track of what they're doing on the iPad. We know what your kids are doing on their iPad, so please make sure that that's the only stuff that your kids are messing around with when they're on their iPad.
Throwing up the air quotes. We know what your kid downloaded last night.
Right? It's really weird for a kindergartner. I mean, we would never.
We've not encountered that before. Oh, hey, remind me on Friday to tell you about my new app for productivity.
Sweet, we will do that. Friday, what do you guys think? Crazy picker stories? Do you guys have some crazy stories that you want to talk about, like just like from when you're buying stuff? Dusty just made me think of that with the bondage thing.
I have scary ones, like creepy.
Oh, those are the best. Maybe we'll just do something fun Friday and do like crazy picker stories. What's that?
Have Danica save those for Halloween.
Oh, heck no. We'll do it again on Halloween.
Are we going to dress up for Halloween?
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, I'm sure that Chad's going to do another, well, I don't know. He changed the format of his show, so maybe he
I'm
won't
going
be
to be
doing
the big fat biker then. I'm coming like I am.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to be this year.
Yeah, I haven't found any cool costumes. Last year I found that, like, velvet pirate jacket at the Weigh and Pay.
You were so pimped out. That was awesome.
That was a fun one. But
Does this count as productive work?
What's that?
The show.
Oh, of course it counts. Of course it counts.
Let me level up then. My app gives you loot and you level up. It's like an RPG.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
You have to remind me.
And, we'll get back to this subject again because we can never cover it all in an hour. I mean, there's just too much to talk about and too many things to know. And what I really want from you guys watching is feedback. Let us know some of your questions, some of the stuff that you are either have questions about, comments about. If you have suggestions for topics, we'd love to hear those. You can just leave them in the comment section below after the show goes offline, or you can go to the Reseller Wakeup Facebook group. That's where I post the latest episode of the show at the top there every day. And like I said, if you have any comments, suggestions, questions, any of that, you can just post them up there, and we'll try and answer them. And if you've got a good topic idea for the show, then we might get to it. But yeah, I do want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for coming on. Hit that like button. That always lets us know that you enjoy the content. This is the kind of stuff that you want to see, and we'll keep working to bring it to you. And then, of course, if you hit that little red subscribe button over there, then YouTube will just let you know when I have new videos coming out and all that. And if you want to see any of the other people on the panel's videos, then the landing page for my channel has everybody's right there in the right-hand side, so you can subscribe to them that way. Or if you see their name pop up in the chat, you can just hover over it and hit the subscribe button there. But once again, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for supporting. We will see you all Friday. Bitcoin.